Turn off your lights. Make sure your doors and windows are locked. Things are about to get spooky. It's so brave of you to be willing to testify against someone so rich and powerful, Detective Bateman said, giving the boy's shoulder a reassuring squeeze. But this town depends on his factory for jobs, he added sadly as his grip tightened. Scientists have finally found a way to translate the sound of absolute nothingness into words, which they call the language of God. The first time they tested it, the only thing they could hear was the blood-curdling scream. In the year 3025, a mortician reluctantly tells yet another grieving family that the only option they have is for their deceased relative is cremation. Humans have consumed and absorbed so much microplastic over the last millennium that the cadavers no longer decompose, and there is no more earth to bury new bodies in. Annoyed after having to clean my daughter's vomit off my new rug, I sent her to bed with a stern warning. I know Mommy's coffee grounds smell good, but that doesn't mean you should eat them. Since it's your birthday, we'll let you pop as many balloons as you wish, said the angel with a smile. But last time I popped a balloon and the humans in the baskets died, you were all angry with me, replied the little angel. The smell of bleach makes my nose burn as I clean the crime scene, needing to erase any trace that my wife was here. If I failed to cover up her kills, I would be next. Tears streamed down her face as I told her that it's not that I don't love her anymore, but that I found someone else and she needed to understand this. I placed her few meager belongings in her hands and let her give one last kiss to my newborn daughter before watching in the rearview mirror as she walked up the steps to the orphanage. Mommy, look, it's snowing! My daughter yells, rolling in the accumulating white snow. My husband just left to put out a small fire at Chernobyl power plant. Hopefully, he'll enjoy the snow with us later. Next are the infamous Silent Sisters who never speak, not even at their trial, the doctor said, adding with a chuckle. To the point, some staff believe they communicate without words, but only with each other. Not only with each other, the visitor replied, her voice suddenly distant, her eyes hollow and cold. I asked my son why he didn't have his Halloween costume on yet for the party. A guttural voice responded, "This is my costume." Don't! Someone will find the body and you'll be in a lot of trouble, my date pleaded as I raised my gun and pointed at her head. My dismissive chuckle echoed over the lonely cemetery, but then she suddenly looked annoyed and hissed at me, "I wasn't talking to you." My father begged me to stop using my powers and claimed it was just a figure of speech, as steam poured out of every one of his orifices. I just stood there, smiling away to myself, knowing that he would regret saying to me that I make his blood boil. Gustav woke up, and when he realized it was morning of his 5th birthday, the young boy rushed into his parents' room while they were still sleeping. It took far too many tragic lifetime loop restarts to decide his baby brother could not live past today, and it was almost a reflex by now. The woman decided to test her new night vision goggles. She discovered an entirely new corridor with a single closed door at the end in her house that only appeared in pitch darkness.
The next one better be stronger unless you want another fat lip,
Dad yells as I finish stirring his drink. I assured him it was, and he gulped it down, and I remind myself to hide the drain cleaner before Mom gets home. Lovely whispering, Jessica, I called to my sister as we explored the pitch-black cave, each one of us roaming a different passage. Stephen, my sister's trembling voice echoed through the cave. I don't know how to whistle. I ran to customer service to pick up my lost child, only to be stopped by the employee. Nice try, sir. His dad has already taken him. I thought I was leaving notes for myself because of my dementia, like, don't forget this or that. Then I found one that said, you forgot to buy the knife. The little girl thought it was cool to pound her chest in front of the silverback while her parents think it was cute. The zoo thought the thick glass was enough to withstand the strength of an adult silverback gorilla. My wife poses on the bed, taking a mirror selfie to see me in lingerie she bought for when I come home from deployment. If you look closely at the window behind her, you can see my eyes peeking through the blinds. I always felt terrible after killing someone, as I kept picturing their grieving family crying at their funeral. I tried to hide my excitement as I left the orphanage with the smiling children, as I knew that no one would ever miss them. This has to be reported immediately, I told the only coworker I still trusted after showing him all the evidence of corruption I uncovered, and pale-faced he agreed. Tapping his earpiece, he muttered, Sir, we have another one who doesn't get how things work anymore, as I heard the automatic door locks click behind me. Convinced I was a witch, my best friend asked me to make a love potion he could give his crush. Mix ricin with red wine and serve, he read out loud, fingering the paper attached to a small vial of powder. If you continue to treat me like this, then I'll kill myself, said the kid with tearful eyes. When our son committed suicide, we adopted you, and if you commit suicide, we will just adopt another, the woman replied with a shrug. When my previously depressed significant other got unusually happy and started giving away their stuff, I was pretty sure I knew what that meant. What I couldn't figure out was why they were giving away my stuff along with theirs. There, that should keep you from scratching your owner again, the alien veteran said as they tied off the last of the sutures. The captured human stared down at his mutilated stumps of his fingers with tear-filled eyes, each one now missing just below where his nails used to be. I pull at the finger until the skin stretches thin and then snaps with a satisfying, juicy sludge sound. No one knows the deprived things I get to enjoy before I give them back the ashes. My husband has been hesitant to try for another baby, saying that 6 kids we currently have is enough. But after I showed him the metrics from our channel indicating that new babies got the most engagement, he had to agree to try for another.
Stop being a pussy and man up,
shouted the man as he beat his son to death with a baseball bat.
Just once be a man and snatch the fucking bat from me,
he screamed as he pushed the reset button on his son's corpse. Nobody believes me when I tell them. But I have found out exactly what caused us to develop the uncanny valley awareness, and they are coming out of hiding. Honey, if you can talk, you can breathe, the uninterested nurse said as she walked away. I begged her to come back as my lungs continued to fill with fluid, drowning me from the inside. I was in the bedroom with my ex-wife and she said, "I think someone broke into the house." Before her new husband could reply to her, I leaped out of the wardrobe with a knife. Despite me searching high and low, I simply couldn't locate my misplaced hammer. Trapped by water pouring into my sinking car, I wish I hadn't been so careless with the emergency glass breaker tool. The genie was confused and the woman wished for a skirt. But when she said that anyone who tried to upskirt her while she was wearing it would go blind, it all made sense. She loved St. Patrick's Day and always said green was her lucky color. It was the last color she ever saw before the drunk doing 90 ran the red. The world's leaders desired to use an EMP to wipe out the alien threat that was replacing humans with exact robot replicas. I have spent the last 10 years scouring the world and have finally come to the sickening realization that I'm the only person they never replaced. Despite the endless torture, hell really isn't so bad. Every time they let us see the shifting, endless mass of ever singing, ever smiling things, I'm reminded that damnation beats the alternative. My daughter stopped speaking after the accident, but her eyes followed me everywhere. One night, she finally spoke, her voice not her own. "Daddy, why did you leave me in the car?" Contrary to popular belief, vampires can have children, and we learn from childhood all the ways of vampire kin, from the best blood to drink to all the dangers we must avoid. Today, I accidentally stepped into the sunlight, but nothing happened. "Shot that dumbass doctor because he tried to put me on meds again," I said, laughter carrying through the woods. The eyes in the trees and bushes, ever present but never blinking, offering no response. Several months ago, when his sister went missing, the little kid's parents told him that she went away to live with Santa Claus, said the reporter. Yesterday, the kid stabbed Mall Santa multiple times while yelling that he wanted his sister back, they added. I assured my wife I knew what I was doing, as I had seen it done in movies dozens of times. Gazing down at my infant son's broken neck, I realized being a chiropractor isn't as easy as it seems. A tear streaked down the face of a trembling woman as she pleaded with her husband to forgive her for breaking his favorite mug, terrified of his reaction and praying that he would concede that it was not her fault. Mercifully, the puppet master agreed with his wife this time, considering that the accident was not caused by her wanton clumsiness, but rather that the string sewed in her wrist had snapped. "Daddy, please help me!" my daughter screamed as the two masked men shoved her in the van. I just looked at the 10,000 they gave me. My boyfriend hasn't eaten, hasn't had a sip of water, even shit for 4 days. Just lying in bed, still lying to me about that bitch being his friend. These fucking flies won't stop crawling over him, buzzing in my ears, ruining our argument over and over. Knock twice, unlock the door. Touch the floor, lock the door. Knock twice, unlock the door, lock the door. Oh God, no! The fire inched closer and closer, as if aware of the tragic irony. Alright, miss, if you just stand right here, the AI will scan you and tell you whether you go to college, into the workforce, or enter one of the alternative pathways, said the government employee, pulling me onto the platform. My heart sank when output on the screen flashed breeder. When the man reached his home, his family, who hadn't slept for days, asked him if he got paid today or not. After my shift, they credited me 12 hours of sleep into my account, and I'll transfer a few hours to each of your accounts, he replied. I thought seeing a child's handprint through a pregnant belly was a hoax, said the man with surprise when his wife showed him the outline of a hand. His surprise turned to horror when a fully grown handprint appeared on his wife's belly beside the child's handprint. Do we need his consent? Asked the woman. If both of your sons are minors and you want to transfer some of one's lifespan to the other, then we can do it with parental consent, the man replied. I was worried about leaving my wife home alone with my newborn for a month, but she assured me that everything would be fine. I stood there with my mouth hanging agape as my wife held the rotting corpse of our son and tried to coax him to latch onto her nipple. I was beyond infuriated with my baby as I refused to latch onto my nipple and eat his dinner. I began to shake him repeatedly while tears flowed down my cheeks as I refused to admit that he had died days ago. I want you to turn my husband into an apple without killing him, said the wife to the genie. Now, turn him back, she said after she finished peeling off the apple's skin. As I muttered the last words of the spell, I heard him come back to life. Sadly, it would only be 24 hours, I thought as I walked away from his grave. The father of the sweetest, most beautiful girl in town told me to have her back home from our date by 9 p.m. sharp. He never specified how much of her, though. The woman had divorced her abusive husband and had a restraining order against him before she died. For us, marriage is sacred and eternal, said the angel to the woman after she saw her husband waiting for her in heaven. They say a man never truly dies as long as someone remembers him. So whoever is still thinking of me, I beg you to stop. I can't bear another century of this agony. I blamed myself after Daddy yelled at Mommy because I left my doll's perm on the driveway and he drove over it. I decided to make it up to Mommy by breaking up all her sleepy pills into her drink so she could get a good night's sleep. I was assured condoms were safe and they only had a 1% chance of them splitting. But as this long-haul flight leaves the runway, I'm sweating profusely despite being cold. So very cold. Don't worry, it doesn't hurt at all. Trust Daddy, I said to my daughter as I tied her baby tooth to the door before throwing it shut. I processed her "that's not the right one" too late, when I heard her screams of pain and saw blood gushing from her mouth. "We actually bought this planet from its former owner a while ago," said the surprisingly friendly alien. "You have one sun revolution to leave with your belongings. Then the automatic thermal decontamination will begin." The good thing is that the people in our space station have been disappearing without a trace. The bad thing is that I'm running out of places to hide bodies. I couldn't understand why my husband's hands were so shaky while serving me another glass. But his eyes only widened when I drank the glass full of bleach again, then asked for more. My smart home assistant woke me at 3 a.m. with a soft chime and a whisper, "There's someone in the house." I was about to dismiss it until it added, "Don't worry, I wasn't talking to you." The undead are smart enough to pick locks, quietly dismantle a barricade, and avoid setting off noise alarms. And we're also polite enough to wait by your bed until you wake up. And with that, our time together is coming to an end. As always, I'd like to thank all the writers who let me read all these 2-sentence horrors tonight. If you enjoyed these stories, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, share, and comment. And if you're interested in more long-form content like this, check out 2482 Reads as well. The link will be down below for you guys. But as always, thank you for watching and listening. Sleep tight and don't let 42 bite.